Jackson on the drive, kicks it out for man. Man, three-pointer, bang! Oh, what a man!
Magic down the middle, just what I thought. A hook shot at 12, good!
Here's Michael at the foul line, a shot on Elo, good! The Bulls win! They win it!
Now there's a steal by Bird. Underneath the DJ,
Going up over Bell, ball away. Yes! Yes! At the buzzer, he does it! Was there ever a doubt? A Smith screen, Bougie will defend. Oh! LeBron James with no regard for human life. It's a physical game.
Oh, me, oh, my! A monster jam by Blake Griffin.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to a live off-season episode of Dime Dropper, where I'm going to be doing something that I don't normally do. I try to stay away from these things. Ranking my top 10 players in the NBA this season. Now, I know that's going into this season. Now, I know that can cause a lot of controversy. So I want to make it very clear before I start what my criteria is. Now, also before I start, I want to encourage everybody to subscribe. You already know the deal. All things NBA, NBA history, and of course, if you're an LA sports fan, this is the place to be. But if you love the NBA, I'm going to say something about your team at some point of my channel. I always do. So please subscribe. All things basketball. Love to hear from people. Give me feedback on the channel, whatever it may be. But in this episode, top 10 players, right? So before I get going, shout out to everybody in the chat. You guys are on Twitter. I see you on Twitter. Please leave Twitter and go to the link below. I see 11 of you watching on Twitter. Come on, guys. So what you're going to do is I'm going to delete that tweet that you're watching. You're going to go underneath one message down to the YouTube link. That's where I make my bread. So come over to the YouTube. I'm about to delete the Twitter tweet. All right. There it is. Okay, everybody. So here's my criteria. What I'd like to do is I only like to go with the last 2 seasons, playoffs and regular season combined. Why 2 seasons? Because I think if you only do 1 season, this last season, it's very tough because circumstance, situation, injuries potentially, things happen throughout the course of a season, and that doesn't always indicate that someone is a better or worse player than someone just because they had one better season. But 2 seasons gives me a little cushion that it's like, okay, it's 2 big sample sizes. 3 is pushing it just a tad for me. So I'm going to go with the last 2 seasons. It's usually how I rank. This is just usually how I've done it since I was a kid. The last 2 seasons, regular season and playoffs combined, and with a very heavy emphasis on the playoffs. Very, because that is against the highest level of competition, no load management, no nothing. Everyone's playing. It's elite comp every single night where teams can game plan against you. That is where you really see how many tools you have in your toolbox, how many things you can do to counter defenses, how you contribute in the highest level of this professional basketball game, of basketball period in the world, NBA playoff basketball. So the playoffs matter to me a lot more than regular season games, especially in today's age where we have load management and the regular season so devalued that you have a lot of gimme games. So that's my criteria. Now, you might be wondering, and this is a big sorry, unfortunate to all the Clipper fans watching this, which is obviously a lot of you guys being that I'm a Clipper fan, but Kawhi Leonard does not qualify because he missed an entire season due to injury. Now, when Kawhi Leonard is on the court, I absolutely believe he is a top 5 player in the NBA. I really believe this. And the production, the numbers back me up when he plays. But the problem is that when he plays part, and availability matters, and everybody knows that watches me that I value that. So Kawhi Leonard does not qualify for this right now. He played a decent amount this season, didn't play in the playoffs besides those first 2 games, but because he didn't play a game in the 2022 season, not saying he should have. Please don't get it twisted and make it seem like I'm saying that he should have played. He was out. He does not make this list. Neither does Paul George. Not because of health, because Paul George I just don't believe is in the top 10. Here we go. Now, I know I'm going to ruffle a lot of your feathers when I give this list because people get emotional. I want to preface this by saying I don't really have a favorite player in the NBA like that anymore. They only were players that play or played for the Clippers. That's it. So there's no real bias going into this. This is just my opinion. My lens is very different than most people's lens, especially younger fans. So I'm going to get pushback. Now, I also want to say that some of these are interchangeable. I think you can split hairs with a lot of these guys. It's not so conclusive where it's like, oh, are you kidding me? A lot of these guys are right there. It really comes down to preference at the end of the day. But I want to hear your pushback, so toss them in the comments when I say my list, and I'm going to clap back. If I had more time, let's say you could jump on here and I'd add you to the StreamYard and you can talk to me, but that's going to make us go too long. And I'm also recording this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify for the audio. So here we go. Number one, drum roll, please, is shocker, Jokic. He just won the championship. He's MVP, should have been 3 seasons in a row, really. Absolutely dominant. Usually 90% of the time, I'm going to go with the guy that's been the best player on the most recent championship team. And Nikola Jokic was playing at such a high level the previous year and the year before that. The last 3 seasons, he has been absolutely unbelievable. Now, the second spot, very, very debatable between 2 guys, in my opinion, but these 2 guys are clearly my guys that I'm going with in tier 1. I think a step above the rest of the league right now. That's not counting a healthy Kawhi, but these 3 guys for me, I think the last 3 years have been the best players in basketball. And the second one I'm going with is the second most recent finals MVP, and that is Steph Curry. Steph Curry did not have a good series against the Lakers. Him on the ball a lot really wore him out. Klay Thompson and Draymond Green really did not come through for him. But that being said, Steph still didn't play that well. That being said, though, he still dropped 50 on the road in a game 7, which was a record. He is not just an all-time great player for his era. He is an all-time great. I'm sorry. He is not just a great player for his era. He is an all-time great player in the history of this game. And he is still, to me, in the twilight of his prime, but he plays at such a high level. And I said the last 2 seasons in my criteria. Did we not see him in 2022 playoffs? I mean, that was unbelievable. To come off the bench to start the series, the kind of selflessness that shows. And the reason why I give him the tiebreaker over my number 3 guy, which is obviously Giannis, is just the skill aspect. I usually tend to go with, when it's a tiebreaker in this sense of 2 players being just around the same level for me, I like to go with the guy that has more skill, that can get me more different kinds of shots than the guy that might be more athletic or stronger. I know my man Fabian is the exact opposite. He always gives me shit for that. I do think physical advantages matter, but at the end of the day, Giannis cannot shoot consistently outside the key. Steph Curry, you literally cannot give him an inch of room. He's one of the great nuclear weapons we've ever had on the offensive end of the court. And even though Giannis is a significantly better defender, I personally, and again, this comes to preference, I like Steph Curry by just this much right now. And part of that is because I don't think that Giannis has improved in the last 2 years, ever since he won. I really don't. I didn't see it in the playoffs at all, even though he was hurt. I didn't see it in the regular season this year at all. I think he was still amazing, but I didn't see him take any leaps. But Giannis is still the 3rd best player, and I think you can argue he's the 2nd best as well. Now, this is where it's going to get tricky for me. There's a lot of candidates for this 4th spot. A lot of people might say Luka Doncic, unbelievable player. Kevin Durant, unbelievable player. Some might say LeBron, but to say he's still top 5 is crazy to me. Now, if the argument was just playoffs, and I can guarantee everyone's healthy, then LeBron, he might be in consideration for top 5. But I do not think that LeBron James has a real case for top 5 right now, if it's by my criteria, which is regular season and playoffs. And I said health matters. It is knocking Kawhi out. So LeBron and KD both, they're not in the clear with that at all. Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, the current MVP, these are names that are thrown out there. But I've gone with somebody who I've been high on for a couple of years. And if we're talking the last 2 seasons, playoffs and regular season combined, how many guys, first off, let's just take out the regular season for just a second. How many guys have been better than this guy in the last 2 postseasons? I'll wait. I'm going with Jimmy Buckets. Top 5. Yup. I'm going with it. And I know that's one of the ones I'm going to get major pushback for. But I just think Jimmy Butler maximizes his talent at all times. He gives you everything. He's a very underrated playmaker. He's the only real knock on Jimmy. He's not the most skilled scorer in the world. He's not. He might not be a number 1 option scoring the ball on a championship team. He might not. But right now, I got to go with him over the other guys because, to me, made it to the championship and 1 game away from it the previous season. I think Jimmy Butler the way I see it, I just can't go with these other guys over him. I'm sorry, but we can talk about it in a sec. Now, number 5, I'm going with the guy that I think is right there with him because he's a two-way player and he is just absolutely, I wouldn't say amazing, but he steps it up in the playoffs. I think he does eventually when the team loses. You've seen him falter a little bit, but I think he's a man for the big occasion. And that is number 5 for me. And I switched up on this. I used to say Luka, but this season, I'm going with Jason Tatum as of now, because I've seen Jason Tatum guard the great players in the league. And for 2 straight seasons, Jason Tatum has made it to the conference finals, led his team there. One season, the finals, 1 game away from the finals this season, had that injury. The thing about Tatum is his lows are really bad because his shot selection is really questionable. He falls in love with the 3 and playing with all eyes on him behind the 3-point line, dancing with everyone loading up. He falls in love with that. But as far as Luka, he also falls in love with that. The difference is I'd say Luka's a better offensive player because of his playmaking. But Jason Tatum defends at such a higher level, and Luka didn't make the play-in. So I'm going with Jason Tatum. I'm sorry. The defense, like I said the last 2 seasons, and with the way Jason Tatum defended Kevin Durant, like I know people don't seem to prioritize 1v1 defense anymore, but that showed a lot of I'm fucking here from him. Luka couldn't do that in his wildest imagination. That Jason Tatum is checking one of the great scorers to ever play the game. And you listen, I know what the pushback's going to be. That was a team effort. You're damn right it was a team effort. But he was guarding him from the tip-off as the primary defender. And that shit is not easy. The reason why I'm giving Jimmy the edge over Tatum is because I think he has personally outplayed him in the 2 series. Last Eastern Conference Finals 2022, Jimmy's team lost, but I think he outplayed Jason Tatum. And this one, I think it was neck and neck. It really was, but Jimmy's team won, so I got to give him the edge. And here's the thing. Jason Tatum has a lot of growing room. There's no question that this is only going to go, this argument, Tatum versus Jimmy, is only going to go in Tatum's favor moving forward. Jimmy's in his prime. He's at the peak of his powers right now. So I'm going to go with Jimmy's peak over the Tatum uprising. But Tatum is my number 5 right now. And here's the thing. It's arguable. I think you can go with Luka. I really do. But I'm knocking Luka, and I'll tell you why. Number 6, I'm going with the current MVP and a guy that really could have won MVP any of the last 3 seasons. That's Joel Embiid. Now, in the playoffs, Joel Embiid is not better than LeBron. He's not better than AD. He's not better than Luka. He's not. He's not better than KD. He's not even better than Booker. I would take all those guys. I might even take Trae Young in the playoffs over Embiid. But the reason why I got to go with Embiid is because I did say regular season plus playoffs. And in the regular season, he's been a top 3 player in the league for 3 straight seasons. He's been unbelievable. He's really taken leaps offensively. And in the first round, he's still a beast. This first round, he was a beast. He was drawing double teams every time he touched the ball and making good plays. And then against Toronto, he had a spin 3. Like he did reverse pivot, pulled up for 3 to win the game at 7-2. When have we ever seen that happen in the playoffs? So Joel Embiid, he's still really good, but then in the second round against higher level competition, he falls in love with the jump shot. And I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the way he plays. He just seems like he settles way too much, even though he has great footwork and he's super skilled, but he settles way too much. It's like he wants to be Kobe, but you're like, dude, you're 7'2". Like, you have a physical advantage. But 6th place, I'm giving him that edge. Now, here's the thing. My next guy is a better playoff player with him, but here's why I got to knock him. Luka. Look, Luka, everybody knows that fucks with my channel that I've been a big Luka defender in many ways. That doesn't mean I'm a fan, but I always defend him because I know firsthand, seen him play live 5 times, one of them 7th row, and 4 times in the playoffs. I know how great this guy is. He is a tank. He is 6'7" and wide and can get wherever he wants to on the floor. The problem with Luka is I think he plays the game the hard way and was also on a dog shit roster. And that hurts him. That absolutely hurt him. Reggie Bullock fell off a cliff. Maxi Kleba fell off a cliff. But my thing with Luka is he really gained weight as the season went on. And I'm not just saying that. I saw it because I looked at Mavs games before I made that video. If you haven't seen the video I made on Luka Doncic and the Mavs missing the playoffs last year, it was with two Mavs fans, two content creators, Bibbs and SJ. And I brought them on because they cover the Mavs and talk about them every game to tell me the story of their catastrophe of a season. And I really recommend that episode. And they told me that, yeah, Luka obviously deserves the least amount of blame. He's carrying the team. But the front office, this is the team that they put out there, right? This is the team that they put out there. The Mavs front office deserves a lot of the blame for Luka dropping spots in my list. Who gives a fuck about my list, by the way? I don't even give a fuck about it. I'm just doing it because I know you guys like to hear me talk about this stuff because I don't do it. Luka is one of one, and he had to carry. But my thing is this. I saw when I was watching some games, Luka in the beginning of the season was slim. He looked much bigger at the end. So he was gaining weight. He was slowing down. And the way that he plays constantly on the ball, he has no off-ball game at all in the NBA that I've seen in the NBA. He doesn't come off curls enough. He doesn't post up enough. Although, actually, you know what? He's been posting up more. I'll give him that. That's one thing I think he's added more, which I like, especially the last 2 seasons. But I like that in 2022, they had this curl with him coming off, stagger screens, curling to his right where he had that lob option, or he could just go into the body for the right-handed layup. I thought that was really lethal. And when teams, kind of shot the gap or tried to go underneath, he would just step back for the three. So I thought that was a great action. I thought they kind of went away from it. And one thing I wanted to see with Luka when Kyrie came was him really sacrifice a little bit, and nothing seemed to change. It's very take turns. It's very just Luka at the top of the key, dancing and dribbling so much. In my opinion, he does over dribble. He does hold the ball too long. And I know he didn't have anyone besides Dinwiddie before the trade. But there's no excuse to me here's my thing, right? This is the problem with these kind of players. LeBron is included in this. Harden, when he was doing it this way, this constant ball domination, high pick and roll every play, 90% of the time. What happens is these guys are going to be amazing because they can get you a good shot every single time down. But what happens is they're going to get gassed playing this way. And then they're the ones that have to close because nobody else is confident enough to get the ball and make huge plays when the refs are calling it a little bit looser, letting you play a little more physical, high level, high stakes at the end of a game. You think a guy that's touched the ball 5 times all on catch and shoot is going to be able to create a shot for you? No, you play that way, you're going to have to close the game. That's what people don't realize. But at the end of the game, they'll have 32, 9, and 7, and they'll say it's everyone else's fault. It doesn't work that way to me. I've been a point guard. I know what rhythm is like. You don't even have to play at a high level to understand that. And these are NBA players, so they have even less reason to neglect them. Because what I've noticed about the NBA over my, 19 years watching, which of course is not that much, granted, is, Jesus, my green screen is bugging out. But anyway, one thing I've noticed is there are certain instances where you can get results with way less talent on the court just because these guys are all NBA players. And when you're playing hard and playing defense and moving the ball, especially with the spacing of the modern NBA, the way the game is played, you can win on a given night. You can really win on a given night. So they have the Mavs. To me, the reason why I'm knocking Luka is because he stopped playing defense the way he did last season. And some might say, oh, it's because of what he's doing offensively. Well, then let Spencer handle the ball more a little bit. Like, the thing is, he's not a catch and shoot player. It's just he plays one way right now. And until I see that change, I'm going to knock him a little bit. But mainly, they didn't make the play-in. There's no excuse. I don't care how much Maxi Kleba and what's his name declined. Reggie Bullock. I don't care that Dwight Powell is the worst starting center in the league. Luka Doncic took a team that the only difference was Jalen Brunson. Granted, Jalen Brunson was amazing. Tim Hardaway also came back. That should help the offense, but Tim Hardaway hurts the defense. So a lot of things that were just tough for the Mavs, but to me, they should not have missed the play-in. That was nuts to me. And Luka has to get ding points, especially because Bibbs and SJ in the video said that Luka wasn't perfect. They said that his defense wasn't good. He was complaining too much. He doesn't set the same tone as a Tatum or a Jimmy from an effort standpoint on both ends of the floor. I'm not saying guys don't like playing with him. I'm not saying he's a bad leader. I'm not saying any of that. But it's a different tone when you're playing with the guy that's going to dive on the floor like Jimmy, guard the best player like Tatum. And then you have a guy like Luka who's amazing offensively, but he's going to pound the ball. And then on defense, he's going to be a little lazy. He admits that he's lazy from how much he's doing offensively. So, and it didn't change with a new coach, Carlisle to Kidd. And so, yeah, they wanted to keep their pick and they didn't go for it, whatever. But the fact that they're even in that position and they got Kyrie Irving, another great player. And why is it a bad fit? People are saying, you think their offense is going to struggle? Because I don't, even if it is take turnsy. We saw LeBron and Kyrie Irving take turns to win a ring. But Luka and Kyrie can do that, a different version of that. The problem is they need better defenders around them. And they went out and got Grant Williams. Hopefully that'll help. Maybe Rashawn Holmes will help a little bit. It's not too significant. The main difference is they're going to have Kyrie for a full training camp. My thing is this: Kyrie Irving is brought in to help you offensively, and they didn't do any better. You know why? Because they can't guard, and that starts with those two. Even though their effort was a little higher at the end of the season, especially Kyrie Irving, because I watched some of those games. Luka, it's when I'm comparing him to Embiid, who's a very good rim protector. When I'm comparing him to Tatum, who's guarding the best player in playoff series. I'm comparing him to Jimmy, who's fantastic defensively. Luka, he's where he's at for a reason. And that's what I got to go with 7th place for Luka. Now, number 8. Number 8 is KD, Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant is tough because having him this low feels weird because he's been such a mainstay in the top, 5 for so long. KD is definitely on the decline. I think he's been on the decline since he came back from that injury in the 2022 season. He did not play well in the playoffs at all against Boston. It was quite frankly embarrassing. But the thing is, we still hold him to such a high standard. He was getting guarded a certain way. And when you watch the way the Celtics guarding him, it's really a sign of respect. Loading up your whole defense against this guy, sitting on his spots, just making it an effort to make his life hell, being physical with him. That's the respect that Kevin Durant garners as a scorer. And my thing is, as a player in general. And also, he is a much better defender than people give him credit for. And I calculated something when it comes to KD. First of all, I said the last 2 years, playoffs and regular season combined, right? Kevin Durant in the beginning of the 2021-22 season, that was polluted by the Kyrie Irving vaccination situation. He and an out-of-shape James Harden were top 2 in the East. And KD was playing amazing basketball on amazing basketball on both ends of the floor. Amazing. And he got hurt. That was very unfortunate. Then Harden got traded. And then obviously at the end, they rebounded, got the 7th seed, and got the fuck out of there with Boston destroying them. And KD was playing like ass. But I want to remind people that he was playing at an MVP level in that pre-injury part of the season. Now, this past season, again, he was playing incredible basketball with the Nets. They were top 2. They had a winning streak. And then all of a sudden, the Kyrie Irving situation happens. The Nets front office is not sold on giving him an extension. So he asked for a trade. He and Joe Tsai, Kyrie Irving and Joe Tsai and Sean Marks don't see eye to eye, goes to Dallas. And then Kevin Durant goes to Phoenix and helps them immediately. They were like undefeated for a minute. And then they obviously weren't that impressive in the playoffs. But then again, they won the most games against the eventual champion Nuggets. And that is because Kevin Durant and Devin Booker are amazing scorers. And for all the shit we give KD, he didn't have a better playoffs than Booker. He didn't. But again, I said the last 2 seasons. Devin Booker, if he outplays Kevin Durant again for a playoff run, then I'll say he's better than KD now because he's just in his prime and KD's declining. But as of now, I don't know if I can say that with confidence that Devin Booker is better than Kevin Durant just because he was better than the playoffs. Just because he was better in this postseason. Kevin Durant is still that guy. He still has a ton of experience. And at the end of the day, Russell Westbrook, and Kawhi Leonard were the guys that were clearly designated as our stoppers in that first round series against Phoenix. And they were guarding KD to start the series and only switched because Devin Booker was taking advantage of whoever was guarding him besides those two. And he was cooking. Same thing happened in the Denver series. Aaron Gordon was guarding KD. Then he started guarding Booker for stretches when Booker got hot. So the other teams saw KD as that number 1 option, as that number 1 threat that they were putting their best player on. And by the way, Kevin Durant's record in the regular season, the last 2 seasons, 70-32. That is pretty darn good on 2 different teams. So, and in this playoffs, let me pull up the stats for this playoffs too, because I think we hold KD to such a high standard. 29 points, 9 rebounds, 5.5 assists on 48% shooting. Now, the 3 ball is what sticks out. Only 33% from 3. But he shot 4.6 of them a game, which is not too high, which you like to see, honestly. Although some people like him to shoot more threes, but he was only shooting 33%. I don't mind it at all. But those are some really good numbers for a guy who I just said wasn't that great in the playoffs. That's the standard that we hold Kevin Durant to. So I'm going with KD at 8. Number 9 is the guy that I had a hard time putting up against. Now, remember, if you just got in here late, Kawhi Leonard is not on my list because it's the last 2 seasons and he missed a full season. And I honestly have no Clipper pride, so to speak, into telling you that Kawhi Leonard is top 10 without prefacing it by saying if healthy. And even though KD missed more games last season, what KD didn't do was be hurt in the playoffs. He was able to last for the entire playoffs. So I don't feel as though we have a top 10 player on our team because he doesn't play enough for me to feel that way. That's my God honest truth. So that's why I can't put Kawhi there if it's by the last 2 seasons. If it's the last 3 seasons, that changes the discussion. Kawhi's obviously going to be in my top 10. But right now, it's fine that he's not in it. So number 9 is his partner in crime, a guy that everyone seems to hate for some reason, but I think he just does not get his due credit, and that is Devin Booker. Devin Booker, for the last 3 seasons, has been, if we're talking regular season and playoffs combined, he has to be a top 5 to 10 player. Not top 5, but top 10 for sure. I mean, in 2021, 2nd seed. And in the playoffs, best player on a finals team. Say what you want about the players that he played against. He still had to play at an extremely high level, and he's not the only player to play against injured teams. He is such a versatile scorer, which makes him very easy to play with. He catches the ball and makes a quick decision, 1 to 2 dribble, pull up. The thing with Book, he doesn't always create that many clean. I would say some people knocked him for not getting to the rim enough, but in the playoffs, that's not what I saw. He was getting to the rim pretty easily. So he averaged 33 points in the playoffs. Teams seemed like they didn't have any answer for him. So D-Book, he didn't play amazing in the finals in 2021. Okay. But Devin Booker was still pretty great. Chris Paul was worse, I think, in that finals. And Giannis was just better than them. 2022, he was amazing in the regular season. Amazing. Best shooting guard in the league. No doubt about it. 2022 regular season. Playoffs, he got hurt. He still played well until game 7. He choked. No ands, ifs, or buts about it. He choked. And then this past season, injured a good amount in the regular season, but he still was amazing when he did play. And in the playoffs, he was insane. My Clippers, we couldn't do anything about him. He made every shot. And I think he's been so consistent. And I love the way he scores. He can post up. He can turn over either shoulder. He can pull up going in either direction. He can work quickly off the catch. He can play off the ball. He's a much improved playmaker and passer that people don't realize. And he plays much more defense since Monty Williams became his coach. I just think he's so efficient in what he does. I think people really sleep on him because they don't like him. And he's a kind of a front runner. I do agree. I don't love his personality so much, but I think his game, he's one of my favorite players to watch. He keeps it simple. He doesn't need all the dribbles and all the nonsense. And anyway, I'm going with Booker number 9. That's, I know, my second most controversial besides Jimmy. And the last one, here we go. Time to hurt some feelings. Laker fans, I know you're like, where are my guys at, man? Where are my guys at, Dime? Number 10, in the 2022 season, LeBron James was better because AD was out. I think LeBron played. Let's go to the Lakers real quick. So I'm spoiling it. It is a Laker. But AD and Bron, both, I don't think you can brag about this season. I know what LeBron was doing was impressive for his age, but the averaging 30 points or 29, 30 points a game on a team that, even when you played, they were under 500 and you just lost left and right. And a lot of those were meaningless points when you were getting blown out. And I watched those games, either when you were getting blown out or just not able to close the games. Going back to that whole thing about Luka closing, LeBron, same thing. And it's because he didn't have the energy to do it because he's older. And he wasn't playing any defense in 2022 either. but he played 16 more games than AD. So in that season, I give LeBron the edge. What he's doing at his age was still insane. I still will give him. I may have said he was top 10 back then. I definitely was saying he was top 10 back then. But this season, LeBron played, let's see how many more games than AD. It was close. AD played one more game, right? And then in the playoffs, I was doing the games. I did every game. I watched the Lakers every night. It's Anthony Davis. It's Anthony Davis for me. And yes, I know that means that LeBron is not top 10, and that's going to get everyone mad because his fans are so sensitive. But here's my thing. After the bubble, that was my peak of I didn't like LeBron, straight up. I just didn't I turned on him. I fully turned on him. I was really bitter about the whole recruiting Kawhi thing and the fact that the Lakers won the ring in the bubble. And so, but I still said he was the best player in the world. I really still said that. Going into I have the receipts. That's the crazy part. In the 2021 season, I said LeBron was the best player in the world. And you know what? I say that the turning point of his career in terms of health was when the Solomon Hill ankle thing happened. Because before that, he was still in best player in the world consideration. He has not had the same burst since then. Not at all. I don't care what anyone says. Because that period, he was still able to be a beast offensively and be pretty ball dominant and play solid defense throughout the season, not just in the playoffs and season. He can't do that anymore. And that's okay. I mean, eventually this guy has to become human, right? What are we doing? The standard that we hold LeBron to it's just crazy to me. I mean, let's put into perspective who he is. Besides the numbers, you got to watch the games. I watch the games. I watch all the LeBron games because I don't take him for granted. I want to watch his games because I know how special he is. Here's the thing, though. He was not the same after he came back from the Solomon Hill injury. In the playoffs, he shat the bed after AD got hurt. He basically gave up. I don't want to hear anyone defend that. He didn't shoot anymore. It was ridiculous. He started scoring in game 5 when they came out without even trying in the first quarter. Oh my God. Don't even get me started on that 2021 quit job where he walked off the court. That shows you. I think AD is so valuable. I think he's the best defender in the NBA. That's why he's number 10 on my list. And he was better than LeBron in this playoffs. I think LeBron was excellent in the playoffs, though. Excellent. And if this was just playoffs, no regular season, LeBron is easily top 10. Easily. And I still think you can argue he's top 10. I still think you can put him in the argument with some of these guys, but he still missed. Let's see. LeBron, he hasn't played 60 games since 2020. So, he's right now, the last 2 seasons, he's missed 20 plus games. He hasn't been super healthy. What's amazing is how great he still is, even with these injuries. That's what's amazing about him. And this postseason, he was awesome, but he wasn't better than AD. He just wasn't. But I love the way he approached this postseason. I really do. At the end of the day, LeBron James has been a top 5 player from probably 04-05. Definitely 05-06, he was top 5. From 04-05 maybe to 2021. 17 years of being top 5. What other player in the history of basketball can say that? So my list for him to say he's 11th, boo fucking who? You know what I'm saying? But let me read the comments. Now I want to hear the pushback. Let's read all the comments. Okay. What's up, Jesse? What's up, Tony PR? Good to see everybody. Nick Pillow. Dylan Brooks better be top 3, he says. Oh, Ryan. Shout out Ryan. Says Tatum top 1. Tony PR doesn't like the Tatum love. Showtime Nick says, I don't think LeBron is any longer top 5. Well, I'm thankful you agree with that. Tony PR was ahead of the curve talking about Jimmy Butler. Sorry, guys. I had to pause the Spotify recording because it's not the same when you're not seeing me read the comments. So I'm going to give him a little shout. What's up, Nick HD? Don't see that emoji. Easy06 says Jokic won, AD 82nd best player in the world. I can't say that. I'm sorry, but I respect your opinion. Nick HD says Jimmy sucks in the regular season for the most part. See, that's a complete exaggeration. Sucks? No, he does not suck. He is still fantastic. Going to pull up the stats. Flea, shout out Flea, one of the 4 sportsmen. Big shout out to Flea. Says I'm tapped in, loving this so far. Dime, thanks Flea. Tony PR says no, didn't like what? Tatum being there. Ryan says Dime knows ball because I had Tatum top 5. Flea says Jimmy at 4 is really high. I know it is. Tatum is the worst shot maker in the league. Love him, though. Worst shot maker. What does that mean? Ryan says Tatum above Jimmy for sure, though. Can't agree. And I explained why. Luke, no, I like it. Nick Pillow says Luka finally being placed correctly. Shaft 9000 says Jimmy made the finals twice in 4 years with Bam as number 2. I give him an edge over both Tatum and Curry, given his help. Curry won though. I don't know if Tatum could even, Jimmy could even do that. Shaft. God, let me see if I can adjust the lighting a bit. Okay, it's a little better. Mr. E says poor Mavs. They went from a contender to not making the playoffs. Western Conference Finals, then boom, no playoffs. Tony PR says, can you win a championship with a style of playmaking? Yes, LeBron did it. There's one of one guys that can do that. I just don't think it's easy. It's very hard. You need great one-on-one players and guys that can make the big plays at the right time, and great defensive players as well. Hepatitis See You Later says 1 Jokic, 2 Giannis, 3 Curry, 4 Embiid. Wow, Embiid over Tatum. See, I can't go with that, but I respect it. 5 Tatum, 6 Luka, 7 Booker, 8 AD, 9 KD, 10 LeBron. No Jimmy top 10? Come on, man. I love the list, but no Jimmy top 10 after what he did? Like, come on. You can't tell me KD's been better than him in the last 2 playoffs. You can't. Shaft 9000 said, Mavs are still rebuilding. I don't think of them as contenders yet with that front court. Feel you. They're not contenders to win the championship. They just got to make the play-in. Jesse says, Luka is another heliocentric ball hog clown. Tony PR says, wait, but not making playoffs was a team decision at that point, an injury. Bro, the fact that they're even in that spot, Tony, is embarrassing. You just made the conference finals and you lost. Okay, you lost Brunson. JaVale McGee didn't work out. That's the tough part. JaVale McGee didn't work out. But yeah. Shaft 9000 says at least they got Seth back. Maybe Holmes will have a better season than 23. Tony says they wanted to keep their pick. I understand. I mentioned that. Shaft 9000 says true. Luka needs to get some bird hustle. I don't know if you can get bird hustle. I think you might just have to have it. Oh, shout out to BJ from the Pull Up Basketball Podcast. Everybody subscribe to his channel. He says Nikola Jokic, Kawhi. I said I wasn't including Kawhi, but Giannis, Steph, Jimmy Butler, Jason Tatum, Joel Embiid, Luka, KD. I like that. I like that a lot. Tony PR says, yo, low-key disrespectful. About what? Oh, that helps. LOL, what happened to Booker or AD? Don't worry, they made it. Shaft 9000, a big fan of BJ and Darian. Thank you. Oh, says Booker's not top 10. Pull up, why is Booker not top 10? Shaft doesn't like. People don't like Booker. Tony PR said, playoffs alone, yeah. Neither is AD. I can't agree, man. The way he played in the playoffs was unbelievable. No, criteria was regular season and playoffs with a heavy emphasis on playoffs. He said, not sure KD is either. Tony PR says, wait, dime. Shout out to Rageman Reg. Love me some Rageman Reg. Go subscribe to his channel. He says, facts. The Nets run wasn't that bad. Yes. Tony PR says, you said take away the season and look at playoffs. No, I did not. I said regular season and playoff. I said that was just for an example of one point I was trying to make. Rageman said not giving Kyrie the max was the breaking point. That was a promise. Was it a promise? BJ says Booker beat a depleted Clippers team that Kawhi was the best player before he went out. Booker's not beating the full team since he started going to the playoffs. I understand, but that's not to say that those teams that he beat shorthanded were easy to beat. I don't think it was easy. I think he still had to perform, and it's not always easy to win as the favorite, as we know. Stoxinho, shout out to Stoxinho. He says catched, but damn, Luka 7. Yes, sir. JP, shout out to new pattern on my wrist. Go shout out to JP. Subscribe to his channel as well. Even though he needs to show me how to get more subscribers. But I'll go Celtics court for JP. New pattern on my wrist. My diamonds and shit just make. All right. Shaft 9000 says honorable mention to Jamal Murray. Dude got a 30-point triple-double in the finals and cooked the fakers. Yeah, Jamal Murray is great, but 10 to 20, you got guys like PG, Jaylen Brown, Jalen Brunson, Trae Young, John Morant, Bam Adebayo, those kind of guys. Rageman, SGA. Rageman says, true, not mad at that. Paul George is not top 10. I'm sorry. He's too inconsistent, BJ. I can't go with it. But I respect your opinion if he is. Tony, don't worry. AD got in there. JP says Booker's been really impressive. What is the list? Anyone in the chat so far? I just came in. Oh, I'll read it again at the top. Tony PR says he has Booker above KD. Interesting. Easy06 says AD is the best two-way player in the game, in my opinion. I agree with that. Shaft 9000 says AD is better than Bron and Booker, in my humble opinion. He just has a similar problem as Kawhi at times, but for different reasons. I feel that. Tony PR says 1 Jokic, 2 Curry, 3 Giannis, 4 Jimmy, and forgot the rest. Yeah. Just say he says Jimmy at 4. LOL, I'm intrigued. Yes, the playoffs. He's too good. BJ said, I'm happy someone put Jimmy in the top 5. He just has a lot of dog in him. and it comes out. He always plays at a high level when it counts. More than these other guys, I should say, because in the finals, I think sometimes it's just the skill. He might not be good enough to be a number one option on a championship team scoring-wise like this. He might not. But he gets the most out of it. I'm not penalizing him for making it to the finals and losing. Stoxinho says, I started to get high on Book since regular season, which I don't do that nowadays. Holy fuck. That motherfucker got to stop being worst Game 7 player of all time. Well, he didn't have a Game 7 this year, did he? Shaft said, yeah, 5 Tatum, 6 Embiid, 7 Luka, 8 KD, 9 Booker. Jesse says, LeBrick stats the last 2 seasons were historically overrated. JP says, interesting list. Okay, Dime. Jesse says, most selfish player in sports history. Oh, man. Easy06 says, people don't realize AD played more games than KD and Kawhi. Yeah, but he didn't play more games than Book. That was why I went with Book. Shaft 9000 says, without those trades and ref love, Fakers would not have made the plan. Okay, let's stop with that. Trade for sure. The fake love, I mean. Justin says, Jokic, Curry, Giannis, locked for top 3. I agree with that. Ace Boogie says, Jesse, we all know you have an anti-LeBron agenda. Hepatitis See You Later says, AD's defense puts him ahead of LBJ. He changed games in the playoffs. Totally agree. JP says, AD had a hell of a run before he got hurt. That's right. Jesse says, to hell with LeBrick stands, Dime. They don't even like basketball. Who gives a shit if you upset them? Luxinho says, there's a whole ass stats. How many LeBron points was garbage time in 2022 season? Spoiler, he did not score much. Well, I would say this. Not playing any defense and just conserving for offense when your team actually has more offense than defense and shooting more shots than you've ever shot in your entire career when you get Westbrook. I don't know about all that, Stocks. Go back to what I was saying. I have my receipts. Like, that's the thing about this stuff. I have my receipts. Whether the stats back up of all the I'm not saying the majority of his points were in garbage time or anything of that nature, but there are certain games that he quit. He did not try. He did not set the tone as a leader. He gave up when AD got hurt. And to think that Westbrook would just lose his confidence out of nowhere like that and just become a bad basketball player and acting like they're doing everything they can in the locker room. Nah, man. You guys, like, there's a lot that went into that for a player like Westbrook to look so bad. And LeBron, that season will forever be overrated by the stats. It was great for being the best player at that age, but it's not. He's an all-star, but he was super overrated. Shaft 9000 says, when healthy, AD is arguably top 5. I don't know, though, man. Like, he just doesn't have that assertiveness scoring-wise that the other guys in my top 5 have. But, yeah. Showtime Nick says, yup, and he's a Laker fan. LeBron quit in 2021. Anyone who denies it is either a Bron sexual, maybe a Myth Knicks burner account, or just didn't watch. Stockzinho says 2005. Nah, I wouldn't have LeBron top 5. Okay, 05, 06. Come on. LAO. Shaft 9000 says, I'd bounce Book and Katie for SJ and Murray. Wow, really? Stockzinho says 2006 to 2021 till Solomon Hill injury. Okay, I'll take that. Ace Boogie says, I'm anti-institution of LeBron. The institution of LeBron entails lies and the promotion of low-level thinking. This goes beyond sports at this point. Oh, man. Shaft 9000 says, Le Barbecue is open for biz, as I always face Fuchsia poop shape. Interesting. Thanks, Nick Pillow. The Tatum hate in the comments. LOL, says JP. Let me change this green screen. All right, I only got about 10 more minutes, guys, so let's see what we got. Shout out to everybody in the live, though. I know people like this kind of stuff. Jesse says, but back to the topic at hand. I don't feel comfortable even making a top 10 of current players. There's way too many playoff frauds these days. It's almost impossible to make a list. Dylan Brooks is not on here. Hepatitis See You Later says, AD ahead of KD just for his world-class defense. AD gets you 20 and 10 as well. It's just KD, though, he's 30 points on every night. That's my thing. And good D. Easy06 is Dime. Can I have a link to talk to you about AD? I have to go, my friend. Maybe another time. JP says facts. Nick Pillow says thoughts on Team USA. I think we need to put out a better team because we're not good enough to beat these teams whenever we roll out there. And the FIBA rules expose a lot of the NBA players in certain weaknesses. Shav said I'm a severe recentist. Stocks Inyo says, I love Butler, but I can see him out of top 10 if this is for next season. It's not a projection. This is not a projection. This is based on what their performance was. Hepatitis See You Later says, I'm not a fan of Embiid, but the guy won an MVP. Yeah, it's a regular season award. That's why I don't rank it too high. If he always shits the bed in the playoffs, I don't know what I can say about him. JP says LMAO. Nick Pillow says, that Kyrie better than Brunson, right? No, I'm going Brunson right now. The Mavs just plain failed. Don't know how Powell is still a starter. Ace Boogie says Paul George is 15 to 20 at best at this point. I kind of agree. JP. 20 PR says, I'm hurt with this list. Why? Ace Boogie says, based on your criteria, Harden would be a top 5 player during his peak, even though he's a playoff dropper. Excuse me? Yeah, he was. He was top 5 during his peak for sure. James Harden? I hate James Harden. He was easily top 5. In 2018, he was top 4. I think he was the 4th best. I got Curry, KD, and LeBron over him. That's it. Pull ups to smash that like. Damn right. Thank you, BJ. Hepatitis C later says Jimmy averaged 22 in the regular season and showed out in the playoffs. KD has 29, but struggled a bit. So the drop off between regular season points isn't that high, so you might be onto something. Plus, Jimmy's defense is probably better than KD. Yeah, and he scores more important points in the playoffs. That's another thing. Let's go to Miami since we're talking about Jimmy so much. The heat is on. Jesse says that dude is right. Lakers 100% would not have made the playoffs if not for a massive initiative to give them every call past February 1st. I covered this like a blanket during the second half of the season. I don't think so, Jesse. I think they were just better than these teams and won games because they had made a good trade. Hepatitis C later says both deal with their fair share of injuries. Easy06 says 2022, the team was broke. The only reason we weren't getting blown out is because of LeBron. What do you mean you weren't getting blown out? You were getting blown out. I don't know what you're talking about. Stocksinho says, I mean elimination game. I feel you. Jesse says Harden isn't even a top 200 player of all time, Ace Boogie. That's a proven fact. Easy06 says Westbrook couldn't shoot at all. That's why he didn't look good next to LeBron. You knew that coming in. That's my problem. He should, and he recruited him. You get points dinged. Then you have to play off ball all the time. The problem is LeBron doesn't make quick decisions on the ball. You know, when off the catch, I'm sorry. Besides catch and shoot. You know what I'm saying? He likes to survey the defense and make the play himself. Doesn't make quick enough decisions off the catch. And oftentimes he's not off the catch. In the second half, he would go back on the ball. Again, I watched all the games. They're right there. We have the receipts. So, like, go and see what I was saying back then. Nick HD56 says, I got 80 at like 8, all things considered. That's fair. Shaft 9000 says, and I stand by it. I've watched this league for 40 years. Hepatitis says AD is the perfect number 2. I feel you on that. BJ says, I don't see AD top 5 because I don't believe he can lead a team to a ring as the number 1. We saw that in New Orleans. I feel you. Jesse says, it was obvious to anyone who isn't a Laker fan. I still have all the stats saved about how much preferential treatment they got. Disgusting shit. But what about how many of these were actually fouls? Because like Austin Reeves, LeBron, AD, they do get fouled a lot, Jesse. They have size. Purple and Gold Mines. What's up, Dime? What's going on, guys? Shout out to Purple and Gold Mines. Subscribe to their channel. Nick HD56 says, but then again, having a number 2 option top 10 feels weird to me. It should not. See, this is the problem. Being a number 2 option on a championship team is really hard to do. And when guys are really good at that, we ding them for being number 2. Like, so what? So guys that can't be number 1s on chip teams can just have whoever's better, who can go farther but lose further. That's what we're debating. Like, we got to give AD credit. He's a well, first of all, he's not even a number 2. He might be a number 2 scoring option with LeBron, but he's number 1. He's the best player on that team. In this playoffs, we saw that. His defense was the best in the league. Shaft 9000 says, dare you to do a Dylan the Villain episode. What's there to say about Dylan Brooks? That he did well in the World Cup? I'll talk a lot about Dylan Brooks this season when we do a lot of Houston Rockets content, but I'll save I don't want to say an announcement, but my dime dropper teams to start the season where I always try to peek and see other teams and have a magnifying glass on certain teams. Like last season, it was the Suns after the trade, the Mavs after the trade, and then in the beginning of the season, the Cavs. This season, the Rockets will definitely be included. So there's your spoiler. I'll be watching them very closely to start the season. Purple and Gold Mine says, where's Trae Young and Ja Morant? Who do you have ahead? I got them in somewhere between 12 to 20. And I'm going to go with Trae Young just because, as I said earlier, when it's a debate, when it's really tight for me, I go with the guy with more skill because I feel like Trae Young can counter more defenses with his shooting ability. I think you still can go underneath screens with Ja and dare him to shoot. Trae Young, you can't do that. Of course, Trae Young does not have the elevation explosion at the rim that Ja Morant has. Defensively, I think Ja is better because of the highlight blocks, but I don't think he's some very good defender. I think it's very marginal. And Trae Young, I think in the playoffs, has had bigger moments. He's still taking the team to the conference finals. And he played amazing in this playoffs, won 2 games off Boston, hit a game-winning shot from the logo in Boston, an elimination game. So I just like Trae Young's his bag. I know that's corny to say that, but Ja Morant, I don't like his offensive arsenal. I don't even trust him with mid-ranges. He just has that floater, and at the rim, he's incredible. But Trae Young, I think that game is more suited to playoff basketball because you can't just get only shots at the rim at that size. And I think Trae Young is better by a little bit. That's debatable, though. I think John Morant being better is not a bad take at all. Bookie Allen says Kawhi was playing well with Russ. That's because Kawhi can play off the ball and doesn't need to dominate the ball. There you go. Ouch, the ball stopper. Ace Boogie says, where would Austin Reeves rank among the Clippers roster? Probably 4th, maybe 3rd. I think 4th. I'm not going to disrespect Westbrook like that. He'd be ahead or above Zubats. Yeah, definitely above Zubats. Jesse said, bullshit. The ref initiative started when LeBron was on hiatus. Reeves and Schroeder were regularly rewarded more free throws than the entire opponent combined. Easy06 says, we're going to blame the Lakers for thinking Westbrook was better than he was. No, we're going to blame Westbrook and LeBron for Westbrook thinking he was better. And AD. And the Lakers, yes. They should. No, it's only Rob Pelinka just gets off scratch-free. Yes. First of all, he was great in Washington, by the way. It's about the fit, not about Westbrook. Jesse going to make you look like LeBron fan because he forced you to defend LeBron as extreme LeBron. Yeah, I definitely think the Lakers just, Jesse, they made it to the conference finals. Like, saying that they won regular season games because the refs, like, come on, they were good enough. Easy06 says, if AD doesn't have a freak accident in 2022, I still say we make the playoffs. And I absolutely think you make the plan. I don't know about playoffs, but you absolutely make the plan. Stocksinho says, also, these are not some Murray like clear number 2. These number 2s are more 1Bs. Yeah, you're right. Pull up says Trae over Ja. I agree. Give SGA one more year, and I got them SGA over both. I actually think De'Aaron Fox is in that conversation as well. Hepatitis See You Later says, people still go back to the Zubats trade and clown the Lakers. By the way, super chats are turned on if you want to drop $1 a dime. Any donation helps and anything counts. I really appreciate it all. But yeah, it doesn't seem like there's too much pushback on the list. So, toss $1 a dime for your boy. It really helps. But that's going to be it for me tonight, guys. Make sure you comment on the video. Let me know what you think about what I said, about my list. And maybe give me your list in the comments. So when this video ends, make sure that you guys comment and let me know what you think for the algorithms. I'm going to have more videos released while I'm out of town. Some that are going to be vlogs from NFL games I went to last season, pretty short. So check those out. And maybe the last part of the Melo Knicks episode series of his era in New York with Fabian. So going to be releasing that. But comment on this video when it's over. Thanks, guys. Peace.